Recently, at the Rap Institute Center in Munich, we bought a slow juicer. Marcos, our manager there, is really into it, and he turned me onto it. So, got this great juicer. It works awesome, but it's boring white. So, a lot of appliances don't look great. So, we're going to wrap it with Lux Light Wrap, and it's going to be done by the one and only Dimas, Brazil. We're going to have our cleaners, application glove. We got our heat gun. He's actually going to bust out the Wrap UEZ from Yellow Tools. We got some monkey tails for the XL squeegee, backing paper cutter, some tucking tools, squeegee with a buffer, knife, and safe box. Obviously, it always begins with cleaning. A lot of appliance comes with like a special coating on it, so you always want to make sure you degrease it, especially those edges. Can really kind of get some chemicals in there that can lower the surface energy, which can, obviously lead to durability issues. So once everything's super clean, Dimas is measuring it, and because it's a curve, you always want to account for the extra bleed, so you get really good, pull, so you don't come up short. Also, you have enough material to kind of make sure you spread that tension out. So here he has definitely enough material, and this is a really cool material from Lux that has a special lamination on top. This is the forged carbon from Hexus. So again, great lamination on top there, so really good kind of custom effect. So notice that Dimas not only has extra material kind of at the top and bottom, but he has extra material on the sides, and this is for wrapping around the front. So the Wrap UZ will handle the main section, and then those extra pieces on the side will cover the front. So that being said, always important to relax it all the way around the material there. Even though he didn't stretch it to get on the Wrap UZ, just really want to relax the material, make sure it's nice and warm. Now here Dimas is working on a table, so he's in a comfortable position, sitting in a chair, and then stretches it basically right around that 50-50 point, so from the bottom towards the top, and that really evens out the tension. So what's nice about Lux Light Wrap, it has a air egress feature, so it can be done dry. Now he wants to wrap the material around the side, so what Dimas is now going to do is take that XL squeegee that's super soft, so it's going to conform to the compound curve, and he's going to put a fresh monkey tail on it so it doesn't scratch. So he's going to heat it again. It still has a Wrap UZ on the material right now, and that just helps add, like say, an extra set of hands, so you can really kind of stretch it around and get it on that main area. So he's got that big wide squeegee, so you can really lock it down nice and even. Then cuts away the excess film at the front. So this is so he can kind of grab it. Leaves the backing paper on the other half right now, and the reason why is now he's going to pick up the juicer and set it on his lap, so he has a good position, really comfortable. So a good tip from Dimas on that. You definitely don't want to get that adhesive, dirty, get any fibers from his pants on there. So keeping that liner on is critical. Speaking of keeping the liner on, he still has the liner on this side as well, and that just helps even out the tension. So he pulls nice and wide towards the front. His free hand keeps kind of holding the material till it's nice and set, then spreading the material out. Again, a little tiny wrinkle right there. So we're going to pick the material up, heat it, and then just that's a nice good triangle shape. So he just relaxes it right to the base. Done. And again, that air egress feature is really paying off right now. No bubbles, just squeezing on nice and tight. But you see that beautiful forged carbon finish. So he's creating an awesome custom look. But you can see a lot of tension has built up on the side. So this is definitely all about reading triangles and shifting it. Now keep in mind that even though this film is cast, it's because it has that nice cool lamination that was fused on at Lux right now. This material is around 5.5 to 6 mil thick. So even though it's cast, it is definitely thick, and because it's got that carbon pattern, it makes it a little stiffer as well. So very, very important to kind of just even out the tension and not stretch it too much. So again, Dimas kind of handled the section, but again, you see the triangles. So he's going to heat up the piece now, and notice that most of the wrinkles are on the upper left side right now. So what Dimas is going to do is he's going to pick it up now, and he's going to pull low and to the right. So he kind of shifts it right there. But then once he kind of feels like he has it kind of set and evened out, he pulls it down towards that lower corner. And that's a good tip in terms of, if you see tension on one side of the triangle, pull away from that. And right there, it evens it out, so it's not nearly as sharp. And then he squeegees it with that big squeegee, and you got very efficient squeegee strokes, and the softness of the squeegee conforms to the curve. Here right now, again, another little wrinkle, so he's going to spread it out. So it's all about spreading out that tension, so he gives it some space. Now, without heat, he can spread it out, and then that's definitely the cast film coming in right there, and just gets all the material nice and clean right to the edge, and done. So with the main body done, now he just releases the entire liner right now, and now can just squeegee the material onto that little bit at the bottom. So see how it curves nice and clean. No need to make relief cuts right there because it's just like a soft, mellow angle. And now, speaking of just relaxing the material, which is what relief cuts are about, now Dimas is taking heat and just really relaxing the material on that upper edge right now. Obviously this is white, he wants to get full coverage there, so relaxing it even just then is already puts Dimas ahead of the curve. Cuts away the excess film, and now he's going to do the other half in the exact same way. So once the other half is done, now we get to cutting. And if you're a beginner or intermediate installer, I really want you to pay attention to how Dimas cuts and how often he clicks his blade. Very important to just constantly click the blade. So right there, he clicked it, cut the front, so he didn't cut on the appliance too deep. So here, cuts nice and clean on the overlap right there, and then cuts down. So about 1/8 of an inch overlap at the front. Not a lot of tension there, so no need to be bigger. But here, very important again, just like he did on the other side, relax the material, and very important to use this tucking tool and tuck it into the base. What I particularly like about that tucking tool has a rounded front, so there's no chance of splitting the film. Even though this film is nice and thick, even though it's carbon, which makes it a little fragile, so having a rounded tucking tool right there really makes a difference, especially right there. Dimas immediately comes in and seals the deal. Very important right now, I want you to pay attention to how he picks it up off that metal piece that's right there at the bottom, and then holds it high so he can tuck it into the base of the main body there without tension. It's not going to bridge and jam it in, picks it up and feeds it in. That really helps with that long-term hold and getting absolute coverage. If he bridges it and cuts and it comes up short, you're definitely going to see white. It might lead to a costly redo in terms of time. Not a huge amount of material here, but definitely don't want to waste that time because he's already put in a lot of effort. So it's all about setting that cut up with the tucking tool, setting up the right way, clicking the blade again so it's extra sharp, and notice how he's angling his blade slightly away, and the blade is running along the metal side of the juicer right now. And the reason why it's running along the metal side is then when he goes to tuck it in, it's going to get that deep coverage. So here at the front, cutting on the high side now, and the reason why he's cutting on the high side, that gives him about, I would say, a 1/16 or a 32nd inch of excess material that's going to cover in that gap. So even though it's at the bottom, you want to get that full coverage in case, let's say this is for a client, you want to make sure that if they pick it up and go to clean it, they don't see any white at the bottom. Again, really using that kind of rounded edge of the tucking tool, setting everything up, and just really getting it nice and deep inside there. And he had already relaxed it before with a heat gun, as you saw in the earlier part of the video. So the material is nice and relaxed, and a great close-up of how he's cutting right there. So good body position right now. And notice how he rotates the juicer as he's cutting. So he's not really changing his arm position, he's changing the juicer position. So once he feels like it's getting an awkward cut, clicks the blade again. So this is why it's nice to have a multi-cartridge blade like the NT Cutter A553P knife, and also using a 30-degree stainless steel blade. That tip is really sharp and it's kind of long, so it gets in there nice and clean. So a 58-degree blade would maybe be a little too stubby and a little too thick. 30-degree blade is absolutely critical for there, and obviously clicking as many times as you need to, absolutely critical as well. Then here's a shot of the final cut to remove the excess film on the outside. Nice good angle of the blade. Once everything's cut away, putting on the application glove right now and just doing a final check over with heat just to make sure all the edges on the outside are down nice and tight. Always a good idea to do this before you get to the critical stage right now, which is cutting the material away around from the button on the back right now. So this turns the machine on and off. So right now the material is bridging on the from basically the base of the juicer right now to the top of the handle. So it's about a centimeter bridge right now. So what Dimas did is clicked his blade, and the material is bridging it, and he's going to angle his blade in. So basically this is a relief cut on the high side right now, because he basically has to tuck it about, I would say halfway in between the top of the button and the base of the juicer right now. He's got to relax the material around. So that top cut was basically, as I said, a relief cut. Hits it with heat to trigger the memory effect, and now he can take the material in. So he loosens the material from the rubber that's at the bottom of the button right now, and then he kisses it with heat again, and then takes the tucking tool and feeds it into the gap. And that's a big lesson, especially for beginners and intermediate installers. The temptation is just to bridge the material, push it in, because you think, oh, it's cast, it's flexible, but very important. Make that relief cut, pick it up high, relax it with heat, tuck it in like Dimas is doing, and then cut everything out, and that hits that long-term hold, and it won't shrink over time and show white. So the final little thing that Dimas is going to wrap is that metal piece at the bottom, and this is a different piece of Lux that has that cool printed honeycomb pattern on it. So what Dimas is doing is just basically starting at the 50-50 point at the back, swinging the material to the side. No need for heat right now, just this is a nice easy flat section, but very important to tuck the material in nice and clean and cut it out super straight. So again, it's not white right now, it's got that silver pattern, so it's still just as critical to that full coverage. So uses the tucking tool, tucks it in nice and deep, and then makes that final cutout right there. So again, really good solid techniques from Dimas as you've seen in this video, and creating that awesome customization on this juicer. But by using the right techniques, it's definitely going to hold over time, and it all started off in the prep phase of getting those edges nice and clean, but then also having the right tools like the Wrap UZ and the tucking tool. And now he basically, once it's done, puts it back together, and I don't think there's really no need to post heat. Definitely don't want to try to post heat on plastic. That's always risky. Dimas is super happy, and so are we, because now the juicer still juices as good as it did before, but I'm telling you, with it wrapped, it tastes that much better. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Justin Pate.